Doing a follow-up video on my GT Factory Team GT electric conversion. I've actually finished. I've completed it so far. I am definitely going to re-gear it to make it go faster. I did the body in a nice bright orange, neon orange, so that it's visible from longer distance away. I've got the Jayco wheels, which I actually put. I heard it was recommended to put purple on the front and then the pink on the back. The pink is part number 2050, and the purple is 2020. So, and it seems like it grips very well. Um, I can't get over how good the body actually turned out. I really did not spend that much time on the body, but I think it turned out really well. We did a kind of orange to white fade deal on there. And there it is. There is the completed conversion. As you see, it's not the cleanest. Uh, it's not the cleanest setup, as far as the wires and everything. Um, but it's functional. It works, and that's really all I needed to do is work, and it does. I think with this gearing that I've got here, which is a 36 pinion, 81. It's a stock 81 spur gear for the 4.1 because I went ahead and took the 4.1 top gear shaft and used that in the transmission case for the GT here because I wanted to go ahead and use this spur gear right here because it's got the slipper. I had to do some shimming. I had to put some shims inside here to take up the left to right clearance because it was moving way too much. And we've got the I originally was going to go with the MIP CVDs, but I didn't like them because they hung out too far on the edge of the outdrive, and I was afraid that was going to be a problem. So I really did not want. I wanted to cancel out any problems that I was going to have with this. I went the kit came with a bunch of RPM stuff. One of the things was the rear bearing carriers were RPM, but it did not come with the RPM bearings, and those ended up being kind of hard to find. And then obviously it's an oddball size, so they're hard to find, and they're expensive too. I guess there's not that many out there. So I went ahead and just went with the stock bearing carriers. So RPM A arms, inner hinge pit holders, stock bearing carriers. And I went ahead and went with the 4.1, the T4.1 dog bones, and the T4.1 axles. Same thing with the bearings. Bearings are the same part number. All that stuff you can use out of the 4.1. And like I did, if you want to use the top shaft out of the 4.1, you're going to have to do some shimming. Or you can use the top shaft, I think, the B4, but actually you're going to have to do the opposite. You're going to have to grind down the little nub on the back of the top gear to make it fit because it's a little too fat to fit in there. So it's so much fun. It's smooth. It's quiet. It's a blast so far. Okay, and as you notice here, I got the motor plate from Dynotech. There's a bunch of people that recommended this particular motor plate, and it works excellent. The only thing that I found that I want to help some people out here, because I know you're probably going to run into some troubles like I did. This part of the case right here has no threads. Okay, the stock setup, this right side of the case has threads in it. But being that this has threads in it and this has threads in it, you're going to have an issue going from this set of threads to that set of threads. It's not going to want to thread right into this. You're going to have problems. So what I did was I barely, just enough, I drilled the threads out on the right side of the case, just so that the screw will basically slide through until you get to these threads in the motor plate. So that'll help you out a lot if you're having trouble with that on this particular conversion. Also, with the motor plate, I did see a video, and I should have wrote y'all's names down so I can refer to you guys, but I didn't. Somebody did mention that you can take a motor plate from a 4.1, or I don't remember the exact vehicle. I think it was a 4.1, and adapt the 4.1 motor plate to this to get this kind of the same setup. Okay, if you want to spend the time to do that, go ahead. But if you're not good with this type of stuff, don't. Just go ahead and spend the extra money to get this motor plate right here. Um, One thing I just noticed, because I was gonna try to put a gear just like this pinion gear on the shaft of this to get a way smaller spur gear. But if you notice the area right here between the motor and the transmission, you've only got that much room to work with. So even if you could get this in a smaller size, you'd probably only be getting it maybe 3 or 4 teeth smaller, and you're going to end up running right into the transmission. So I mean, I could do things to try to make that work, but I think I'm going to go and just try to find a specialty pinion of the same inner diameter as this, and just get a monster pinion and put it on there and see what happens. And as you can see, I've got the Castle set up. It's the Castle 410 can, 3800 kilovolt. This came as a package deal. It was a combo. Okay, 3800 kilovolts Castle motor with the Castle SCT. So it's a short course setup with the SR300 Spectrum receiver, and then there's the old dog there, which I like. It might be out of date, but it's got so many. You can tune so many things and adjust so much with it that I still really like it. So this particular combo came with a fan for the motor and the ESC. Okay, if you notice on the SR300, you've only got one auxiliary port to use. So basically, I can only use the fan for the motor or the ESC. I thought there was going to be issues. In fact, I wasn't even sure if it was okay to have this receiver so close to the motor. But I run the crap out of it for a good 10 passes, and I could still put my finger right on it. So I'm not even close to overheating either one. So I'm not even going to worry about that. But as you can see, I kind of just took the wires, looped them once, and then plugged them into the ESC. From there, I took the smaller wires here for the ESC, from the ESC to the receiver, and just kind of looped them in this, even the receiver antenna. See, I just kind of loosely just stuck it in there, and everything, it's not the prettiest, but it's functional. And that's what I'm all about. Same thing with the on-off switch. I just took it and went ahead and just put a little zip tie. None of this is going anywhere. Also, I don't know even if anybody does this, but I went ahead and used Velcro. I've used Velcro for everything in here except the motor, obviously. The receiver, Velcro. The ESC and the battery is Velcro. Like I said, I don't know if anybody's actually used Velcro. When I first got my 4.1, and the tape come loose pretty quick, so I just used the Velcro to try it out. It worked so well that I just kept using it for over the years. So this is the same thing. I just it's so simple. People, you know, if I wreck this thing, this battery is not coming out. I don't care what anybody says. It's solid. Um, so yeah, Velcro is a cheap alternative to a bunch of fasteners and whatnot. Okay, moving along, we've got the Venom 5050C. Now, obviously, that's not the biggest battery. I can go ahead and probably get uh, a little more oomph or a little more top end out of a bigger battery, a higher C-rated battery. And I went with the cheapo Futaba was a S3004 servo. It was cheap. That's all I really cared about on this build, because I really was trying not to spend a crap load of money to get to my goal, which is, well, trying to eventually get to 100 miles an hour, but without spending an arm and a leg. I've seen so many setups out there of you guys spending a crap ton of money, and I'll tell you what, your trucks look excellent, but I'm trying not to go that route. Going toward the front, I went ahead and used Traxxas, which I already mentioned this in the other video. I used the Traxxas bearing carriers because I was in a pinch one day, and the hobby shop that I was at pretty much only, pretty much predominantly sells Traxxas parts. So I went ahead and just did the Traxxas hex conversion. So you got the bearing carrier and the hex set up, and the front axle. Now I did notice the front axle on the, which might be the rear also, the front axles on the Rustler, Traxxas, whatever, it's a hair bigger outer diameter, the axle is. So I tried to use some shims from my Team Associated rear bearing carrier axle setup. They wouldn't fit, so I actually had to hollow them out just to get rid of any left to right movement in the wheel. And I did that, and there is none, and they spin so good, and really, just really overall happy. I spent a lot of time on this build, taking up any clearance, but obviously not closing up the clearance enough to where you're causing resistance, because that's bad. But I'm glad I took the time, because this thing, it's an arrow. I sent it. I adjusted our crap. I think these are the, not toe end, the cambers. The camber. I did all kind of adjustments, and I set it out there. I set it on the ground. I didn't even touch the servo adjust, or the trim. I never even touched the servo trim. This thing was straight as an arrow as soon as it hit the ground, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Rustlers seem to be way more popular as far as speed runs, but if you notice the weight distribution on this, you should, all the Rustlers and all the weights back here. That's why you have all the ton of weight up here. This, on the other hand, everything's forward. The transmission here, motor, electronics, battery. Battery's the heaviest, so I try to put it the furthest forward. And it's actually really working out. You got any questions about paint or body work or anything? I'm actually pretty good with the paint and body work. But that's it. That's the Team Associated Factory Team GT Nitro to electric conversion. Awesome truck. I love it. Big fan. Thank you for watching.